There is a video going absolutely viral around the internet of Sean Strickland, former middleweight world champion, beating up the influencer known as Sneako. This guy, he's an influencer. He's been practicing boxing for like the last 8 months, and he decided to get in the octagon with Sean Strickland, and now everybody's saying that Strickland went too hard, he did a bad thing, this was horrible, etc., etc. Then we had Jake Paul chime in, basically calling Strickland a coward because he only beats on people who are less experienced and less strong than he is. He takes advantage of the weak, the vulnerable, etc. So I'm going to be breaking down everything that kind of went on and what my take is on this entire thing. And yeah, let's get started. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Ultimate Punching, the Ultimate MMA channel. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. Before we begin the video, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button and hitting that subscribe button, it helps with the YouTube algorithm and helps grow the channel. First of all, props to Sneako. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of guts to get in there with someone, especially a killer like Sean Strickland, who's known for sparring way too hard. And he looked pretty good in there, you know, for those first 4 minutes. For someone with only 8 months experience, he's moving pretty well. His jab looked pretty good. He looked like he's been taking his training fairly seriously. So I absolutely have mad respect for Sneako and everything that he did in there. I know I would never have the balls to step in there with Sean Strickland, so props to that guy. But the major question is, did Sean Strickland go too hard? Was this a bad thing? And the way I look at it is as follows, right? Sneako made a video basically saying he knew what he was getting into. He knew that he was going to do hard sparring with Sean Strickland for 4 minutes straight. Sean Strickland basically let Sneako work, right? He let him throw the jab, throw the punch, throw the cross. You know, he parried a little bit here and there, but he basically let Sneako work the body for 4 minutes straight. And he said towards the end, okay, for the last minute, I'm going to go, right? And during that entire time, Sneako could have backed out. He could have stopped, but he stayed in there, and, you know, he stayed standing, and Strickland didn't knock him out or knock him down. So that's the way I see it, is that, like, Sneako kind of knew what he was getting into. That being said, you know, this is the one, like, I like Sean Strickland in a lot of ways, but this is probably the one bone I have to pick with him, is that it seems like he wails on kind of the less experienced guys in his gym that he goes with, right? You'll never see him spar like that with Magomed Anklaev. You'll never see him spar like that with Chimaev. Like, there's video of him saying, like, you know, don't go too hard on me, right? You'll never see him spar like that with you know, the top tier guys that he works with. I guarantee you he doesn't spar that way with Alex Periera, right? But he'll spar that way with a guy he can get the better of. Which, like, again, the people who are kind of at that elite level of training, the people who are in there trying to be competitive fighters and things like that, you know, I'm fairly certain that they all kind of know what they're getting into when they sign up, right? If they sign up for training sessions that involves Sean Strickland, they're probably ready and prepared for what's going to happen. At the same time, just for me, like, that's not the type of thing I like for myself. That wouldn't be the type of training I'd like for myself, right? I've done some Muay Thai in the past and boxing and this and that. And certainly there are more experienced people who could absolutely wail on me. And I went to one of the Muay Thai places I went to was absolutely fantastic in the sense that the sparring was really light. A lot of the experienced guys let you work. They would let you know that they're beating you up. Like, one time I went with my instructor, and he probably hit me 300 times in a 3 or 4 minute round, right? Lightly, but I was aware that he'd be piecing me up, no problem if that happened. But the whole point is that, you know, the culture at that specific gym is like, you know, there's sort of the competitive crew. They train at a different time. And if you're in the competitive group, prepare yourself to go hard, right? But if you're in sort of the more like introductory, you know, casual Muay Thai classes or whatever, like, you know, hard sparring is kind of frowned upon, right? So the whole point I'm getting at is that the crew that trains with Sean Strickland probably knows, you know, that's what they're getting into. But at the same time, you know, I just don't like people who are mat bullies or who are you know, gym bullies or different things like that. And, you know, I train jiu-jitsu more often, and similarly to how it went with Sneako, a lot of times you roll with like the higher belts and the better jiu-jitsu practitioners, and as a lower belt, they'll let you work for a little while, and then when it comes time to getting close to the end of the round, then they'll smash you, right? So that's been kind of my experience. But as I mentioned, props to Sneako. Like it was pretty impressive for someone who's only had 8 months experience. I know a lot of guys who've trained for a lot longer than that who don't look that good. So the guy has some natural skills from the looks of it. Now, the other part of this whole thing is Jake Paul. Jake Paul inserted himself in the conversation and basically said that Sean Strickland, he only beats up on, you know, weaker, smaller talent, and that he's kind of a bully, all this different stuff. To which Sean Strickland kind of replied, basically saying that he would end Jake Paul if he had the opportunity to do it. And now it's got everybody talking. What happens if Sean Strickland and Jake Paul have a boxing match, right? This is something that they could do. And you know, Jake Paul responds basically saying, I'll give you $1 million to come. Cameras on, lights on, everything on. You come to my gym and we'll spar. We'll have a boxing match and we'll see how it goes, right? And then Sean Strickland replies, he's like, no, let's have a boxing match in the middle of the desert with no cameras, no nothing, and we'll see how it goes there, right? So, and I agree with a lot of the points that Sean Strickland made in terms of the fact that he doesn't like a lot of this influencer culture, right? Like these people, you know, they just make content, they're trying to get views, they're you know, making fun of people, they're being professional trolls, they're doing all this stuff just to get likes and attention, and he sort of sees it as this degradation of society, which, you know, sure, right? But at the same time, people are just everybody's trying to make their way in the world, right? Everybody's trying to make a living. You're making your living through fighting, which is literal blood, sweat, and tears and all that type of stuff. And these people are making their way in the world in a different way. So, you know, whatever people are doing to pay their bills and stay in a good space and stay on track and, you know, not be criminals and that type of thing, you know, I'm all for it. But, yeah, this is kind of my reaction, right? Is that, you know, I don't think Strickland was out of line. I do have that criticism of him, that he's a bit of he seems like a bit of a gym bully against kind of the weaker people in his gym. But, you know, like he would never spar that way with Anklaev, as I said. He never sparred that way with Periera. I guarantee you that. But at the same time, like, you know, Sneako knew what he was getting into, and Sneako did a pretty good job. And I think he earned a huge amount of respect from Strickland. He earned Jake Shields. He posted about the fact that, you know, the kid's got a lot of heart. So, yeah, with all the negativity coming around that, I actually think that this is going to turn into a positive thing for Sneako. And, you know, it's going to give him a lot of lessons in his, you know, martial arts journey in terms of like, okay, who can I face? This is going to give him what it feels like to be absolutely helpless, right? Which, like, again, at least in jiu-jitsu, when you're put in a position where you're completely helpless, you don't take damage.